In today's conversation, I'd like to have a look at the whole concept of tribe. Why is tribe important? What is it about tribe that facilitates healing? Why is it important for us to connect into tribe? I'd like you to draw again on your own experiences of moving out of the military, and in what ways did finding a tribe, no matter what form it was, facilitate greater healing and adjustment into the changes that you were experiencing? Thank you. Gentlemen, I think what we're going to move into now, which is probably one of the most important things, is the concept of tribe. In what way is tribe important? What was it like, and what was the reason for you losing tribe? You've raised things like that anger and the moral injuries and the cutting away from tribe. That can be talked to as well. How did you rediscover tribe? It might not have been with your military group. As you said, tribe also needs to adjust and adapt. So what are the other forms of tribe you've discussed? Because some people are not going to be able to have the opportunity to integrate back into some form of military tribe. And why do you feel tribe is important? What does it give us? Okay, so we'll draw Bob, you okay if we start with you?
Yeah.
Bob, yeah, go for it. Remember, it's pretty short and sharp, and we'll get to the end of it.
So tribe is just a group of people who have the same shared set of cultures and mores. You were instantly comfortable. When we're a group who've never met, but we talk, we've all had a similar experience and instantly have something that we can correlate on. And when you leave that and you're moving into another tribe after that, it's disconcerting. There's fear, uncertainty, anxiousness, etc. But I've said I've suspended my military persona for a little when I transitioned, and then I started to bring it back in with the new tribe I have. And I now have a new tribe, and the new tribe acknowledges my military connection and values it, but it's centered around a whole new area of expertise. So it's fundamentally for me, it's music and my local pub. I've integrated very deeply into the community of my little village. It's only a small village, and that village is also part of my new tribe.
And in that tribe, are there veterans at all in your music? And
Not very many. There's a couple of veterans, but not as many. It's not an area that represents highly for veterans.
so it's really, you've reformed tribe.
Yep.
So that demonstrates the capacity that we can reform tribe, which is not necessarily connected to a military background. Okay. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Ian.
Tribe to me, I think it's exactly as Bob just said then, we can all reconnect based on our common experiences and beliefs and things like that. And I think certainly when I was in the army, which was the long peace, I didn't go to Afghanistan or anything else like that. There wasn't that really close connection that I see in a lot of the post 2000 veterans. We didn't have that. Certainly towards the end of my career, I was competing against people for promotion, and it was kind of making the opposite for me. I didn't like the tribe that I was part of sometimes, because it was like it was a boastful, I don't know, tell everyone how good you are type, and I didn't like that. I don't like that. And I didn't like it at all. And when I did get to command a unit, I remember that they exercised everything that I'd been told, and I wasn't allowed to do it. I wasn't allowed to let the tribe delegate responsibility, mission command, all those issues that you've been taught. But when I just jumped up, when I got out, and I started businesses, I was able to actually do that, and it works so well, much better than it did in the military. So I was able to reform a tribe in the way that I was taught, but never ever allowed to practice when I was in the military, and it worked exceptionally well, and bound everyone together, and I was just pleased to be able to put all those things into practice without anyone telling me don't do things the way that you've been taught. Do it in a way which I want you to do it, not the way you've been taught. And to me, that made my new life, new tribe, much better.
So what you did was you took your skill sets that were already inside you and you used them to create something new,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
which again says that it's not about learning anything new. It's just learning how to transfer it. We don't need to look at anything new. It's already inside us. Thank you.
And I think finish off that people say that veterans make great employees. They do, and they make great leaders. And we should never look back and think that we're lesser a person than anyone else.
Yep.
Because we're just like everybody else and have just the same opportunities and can do a hell of a lot more.
In fact, I would add that the values of a veteran are pretty shortchanged in civilian life.
Yeah.
So we bring in good value. Thank you, Tim.
Tribe, capital T for trust. And then when we're out of the tribe, so to speak, out of defense, we look to recreate that in, people that we think we can trust. And sometimes civilians are quite quick to, I'm not the only one who trusted somebody possibly sooner than I should have and then got betrayed. And that sort of highlights the opposite of tribe, which is the loneliness and isolation. Compound that with, physical injuries, some undiagnosed mental illnesses, and it's particularly hard to create a tribe again because part of you thinks, well, if I trust again, I'm going to get hurt. So I couldn't find a group, so I ended up creating a few, which was specifically targeted to breaking isolation. And then, that really worked for me to create. I couldn't find something that worked for me, so I created these groups, through the ESOs I was working with at the time. But I also found that tribe and breaking the isolation is good, but it couldn't stay there. Veterans are really good at creating these antisocial social groups, as I call them. Okay,
Good too.
I can only be myself around that particular group of people, but I'm only around them, once a week. Oh, Ian, great, this is good. Now, when I'm shut down again, who do I trust, right? So we always tried to sort of create it like a trampoline. You go in, you leave with more energy and momentum, so you can circulate in the wider world, and come back in knowing that it's there as a jump point.
Yes, that's a good point. So to put all your eggs in one basket and it's just military tribe.
Yeah.
Well, we're not in that environment anymore.
And then
that's a good lesson.
We'll sit around bagging out civilians and how
Yeah.
we're annoyed with them, and
Good
that
point,
just doesn't work.
Good point. Thank you. Presty.
So I guess for me, and I think for a lot of people, joining the military at a young age, you get accepted into a pretty strong tribe, and there's a lot of pride in that, and there's a lot of honor in that feeling of service to the tribe and feeling like you're useful in that. And again, definitely losing that when I got out was very challenging. I was part of a group that actually went up to DVA in 2017, where they'd mapped out all the ex-service organizations around Australia, and there was thousands of ex-service organizations. And I think that's a reflection of the need for people to be creating groups and creating some tribal things that are happening. But what we've seen at a lot of that, and as Tim just brought up, there can be a lot of toxicity in those isolated groups, and in a lot of the mainstream groups that are there. It is a bit of a toxic environment because you're putting a bunch of people together who have some issues, and then that kind of ruminates on itself, and there's no chance to grow if you kind of only stay in those environments. So what I learned quickly with the groups that we've been able to kind of establish in Wagga, with the community element, it was when we went to the community and started to work with the community to kind of upgrade our connection and knowledge within that group, that it really helped us kind of grow back into the community. Because I don't think we get out to become veterans, we get out to become civilians, and there's no way to step into that civilian world unless you physically have an avenue to then breach into that civilian world. So I think the tribe now needs to be, for me, my community, my neighbors, the people that I see down the street, the people that I go and work with and kind of interact with. We really have to kind of build our tribe around us in that connection that we have with others around us.
And you know, Frosty, it's like, you know, Perpetua, you've got your tribe that you spend a lot of time with, but we also have our tribes that are different. And I think we need both, and I think that's what's coming up here today. Is we actually do need both, because if all we've got is one thing, it can become quite toxic, and then it just goes downhill. It's a downward spiral. So I think that's an important point that is coming up today. No, thank you, JJ.
Been a great day. Thank you, Barry. For me, tribe is the army was definitely my tribe. But then once I got out, obviously being kicked out sort of thing, even though I did it myself, but I blame them. It feels like we were just said before, you're out in the wilderness now. You're on your own, you know, and I chose to be like that. But for me, finding my tribe these days is recovery based. It's about, am I still a victim of my own circumstances? Am I still a victim of the childhood trauma and all the PTSD, all this sort of stuff? Or do I live a happy life and do the best I can? Not every day's perfect, but most days are these days, because I'm not relying on addiction or whatever it may be, you know, to replace something that's not there, you know. And so tribe for me is huge, and through Trojan's Trek as well, that's also allowed me to help me by helping other people. Some people think, oh, you're so amazing at doing this sort of stuff. I say, yeah. No, this is helping me as well. Even though I'm helping you and it's all about you, I understand this, but that allows me to take the mirror off me or take the reflection off me and help others, you know? So like we were saying before, like I discussed before, if you've got something that's so good, give it to other people. Don't hold it onto yourself, because what's that going to do? You know, like it'll glow. The ball will go flat eventually. Pass around to everyone else, keep it pumped up, and off you go, you know? So yeah, recovery and service is big for me.
Yeah, playing it forward all this more.
Play it forward.
Yeah,
Always.
yeah. Thanks, JJ. But
So tribe, tribe to me, everyone's sort of touched on it already. So I don't believe I belong to any one tribe. Right, I'm a bit of a nomad, so I don't feel like I belong in a tribe. So I like to do things by myself, but I will maneuver into a tribe when I need to pull things together and make things happen. Right. Simon Sinek talks about it. A tribe is feeling safe, right? So it gives you that sense of safety, you know, right accent, color, skin, job, values, you know, you connect with these same people, right? So, but Frosty and Tim it also segregates, right? So it also segregates us. So I'm not part of that tribe. So, you know, I'm going to go to war with that tribe. Or the religion, you know, I don't believe in the same values. I don't have this, I don't have that. So I think tribe in my sense is we're all one tribe. If you look at my LinkedIn, I say human. That's what we are. At the end of the day, we're human. We all belong to one tribe. And as soon as we can wake up and realize that and not segregate ourselves into these individual little groups, and to realize that we're all here for the same reason, we're all idiots bumbling through this world, and we're all part of one tribe, then we'll have a much better life. So tribe to me is we're human first. Fundamentally, that's the tribe I'm a part of. Hence why I feel like I'm a nomad and I can adapt to different tribes I move into. So tribe to me is a word that is, you know, universal in one tribe, humanity. That's what I believe first.
I think what you're bringing up is tribe shouldn't be an entrapment.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, when you were talking, I was thinking about, you know, running ultra marathons. The tables are like the tribe. I'm not always at the table, but I'll dip into the table as I need to. You know, as a Rhodesian, we bombshelled out. So I never had a tribe. I didn't even know I'd lost a tribe.
Yeah.
I only, and that's military tribe. You know, I found tribe here when I was running community drumming circles. Yeah. But when I discovered the military tribe here to some extent, my old Rhodesian mates, and specifically in the States, something special happened. And that also was when I was working with the guys. They would come into the room, or as we say to each other, first thing would be, good to see you, brother. Now, the very hearing of the word brother is a heart-opening experience. When you say goodbye, it's love you, brother. The capacity, especially for men, to be comfortable with the experience of love and brother is what is quite unique to the military tribe. So it means we need some of it because these are the guys that watch our backs. These are the guys that will phone you at 10 o'clock at night and go, "Hey, I was thinking about you. Are you okay?" So, but we also have to, as you've put it, we have to interweave and form other tribes as well. Together is where their power lies. So thanks, guys. That was a good dive into tribe. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ben, you cool if we start with you and then we'll flip around?
More than happy to.
Yeah.
I think tribe, very interesting. I've got members of tribes that I've been part of in the past that are part of my life now. But I wouldn't say that, just because they're part of a veterans tribe from the Australian Army or from the Royal Navy, that they are my tribe. It's the people, it's the individuals that shine out to me. It's those people that are invested in bettering themselves, that are, able to, to sit there and hold space and listen, but also for me to do that for them too, and grow. Like, it's a growth mindset, and that's my tribe. It's the people who I feel that connection with. So there is no group of people, but there are individuals across, I wouldn't say tribes. I mean, it's the many communities, but my tribe is a selection of people from all the different communities.
So wherever we are truly held and heard in a mutual sharing, we are in tribe. And ultimately, we even form a tribe with our internal figures, the relationships we share with those figures inside ourselves. Thank you. Thank you. All right, then we'll move. Q.
I think nothing will ever bring me the same sensation that the military did. Uniforms, uniformity, 500 people turned left at exactly the same time. And the me disappeared into a we, to sound really corny. But that feeling, nothing will ever bring that back, I don't think. And so that's what I think was one of the yearnings I had when I left, was the feeling of unity, not so much diversity. So it had its place. Similar to Ben, outside though, there are select individuals who are not so much knowledge, but wisdom, different from knowledge. It attracts me, and those sort of people, to add more corniness to my own narratives, like people here today. I haven't felt a tribe-ish feeling, which you nicely said before, Barry, about being listened to, heard, and seen. And today, for example, has been really lovely. People who all worked on themselves, push hard, but can also offer space for others, I think is the newer version for me, and loving it.
There's that shared heartbeat. I think one thing I want to throw out is, so is the military tribe the only option for us? No. Yeah, okay.
This is my favorite topic. My very top value is connection. But what's interesting and what I'd like to talk into is I didn't actually have that within defense. Yes, there were people around me all the time, but I had a lot of seeking behaviors where I was constantly trying to fill a void to feel loved externally, because I didn't have that yet for myself. As I've moved into my own journey in the last 10 years and evolved, I now am finding my true tribe, the soul tribe, the ones that fully see me, all parts of me, can talk about literally anything. Sometimes things get a bit whack. And I feel seen, heard, and loved. And I don't think you can really achieve that full tribe feeling until you know who you are intrinsically at all levels.
They say, Kate, that the child finds itself in the mirroring of the mother's eyes, or Winnicott, as you remember. And in tribe, no matter what our age is, when we find ourselves in the eyes of the other, the healing is so powerful. So I know that you do a lot of work around that, and I'm always really grateful for that. Thank you. Yeah. All right. What are your thoughts?
So tribe, I like what Kate just said on the soul tribe. I'm very much into that view. Like I've spoke about, we're all human. That's the tribe we should all focus on, because it can segregate us if we focus too much internally on tribes. But the soul tribe is what I'm really fascinated in, because that's exactly, I'll echo what you just said, Kate. It's,
you got to understand yourself intrinsically before you can understand others. Because hurt people hurt people. The healer may think they're healing, but they're actually causing more grief. So the soul tribe, when you can actually look at someone beyond the physical aspect of who they are and actually feel them and see them, what's in them, is the tribe that I wish to belong to, rather than the physical aspects of where we are with society.
Yeah, because it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
It goes deeper.
Yeah, and what comes to me is that I belong to 2 tribes in the States, but we meet once a week. And I realized that I never leave tribe, and it's not like I need to hang with them all the time because we internalize the figures of the tribe.
Yeah.
And so even when I am alone, I am never alone because within me is my tribe.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing when it goes from the external to the internal. Yeah. Ted.
I'm just sort of thinking of this as we're talking. One of the, in some ways, the military tribe is a kind of easy tribe to be in. Once you're in the military, your uniform's on, you have a role, everything's defined. That's a tribe that's in. Other tribes, it's a lot harder. There's a lot more to and fro. And what I see, particularly in a lot of veterans, but just general population as well, is that you kind of, for some people at certain stages of their illness, there's too much energy required to be in the tribe, and that's a real tragedy. And Alex was talking about the doctor experience. I actually see, when I'm seeing a patient, there's the patient, there's the family, but there's also the doctor and the medical community. And one of the currencies that I think is so important is the currency of hope.
Yeah.
And one of the saddest things I see, particularly with people who've had failed treatments over a long period of time, is the patient's given up, their families lowered their expectations, but the doctor does as well. And I saw this in myself. Halfway through my career, I had a whole bunch of patients that weren't getting well because they were filling up my books. And it's very hard to actually start to say, well, how do I actually get myself out of this? If I can't be hopeful about if I start lowering the expectation, how do we do it? So I think that, but I think what I'm saying is you need to be able to, people need to bring some hope into it. And once you can do that, then you can start the process of healing. But you kind of, being part of a tribe, particularly a kind of those more ill-defined, amorphous, non-total institution sort of tribes, is work. So you kind of have to kind of build up to it a bit as well.
Look, I need to work a tribe. I mean, I know that no matter what, there are 1 or 2 people that have got my six, they got my back.
Yeah.
Just the knowledge of that means I have always the shadow of someone next to me. If that is all we begin with, we've already made a profound leap into our healing, because aloneness is the time where we start to lose ourselves. So thanks, Ted. Alex.
Thank you. I love this conversation. Tribe is a really particular topic for me. I was in the Corners Lounge this morning flying in, and I was writing a few notes thinking about what do we talk about today. And it's funny, right? So thinking back in those days, talking about multicultural affairs in Australia, and who are we is the question. And my answer was tribes. Thinking here, what is that? How do we break that down? Because there are so many tribes and tribes within tribes inside the Defense Forces. I'm an observer of those tribes and the tribal behaviors afterward, and the language and the lingo, and even the way you guys walk. I'm trying to pick out, that's an Army walk, or that's Navy. Air Force is just weird. Sorry. And then thinking about how it all connects. Eons ago, there was a philosophy course, and there was a term, I'm going to be wrong about this, so forgive me if I'm actually in fact wrong. And it's a huge word, episteme phenomenalism, that says we're all connected in our shared experience of each other. And then you add Winnicott stuff, and you go, well, I exist because I exist in other people. Other people exist because it's in my head. And so when I get a call from Dan, and I go, I was just about to give you a call. How cool is that? And when I think about someone, and and I give them a call. Hey, I'm just thinking about you. And the feedback, that throwaway line, that's not really a throwaway line. The first thing they say, hey brother, I'm good. And they end with, love you. In pure medical stuff, I get reported. And I'm always a bit twitchy about that, right? But that sense of I belong, you belong. There's a community and behaviors and understandings of that belongings, plural, and that can be expressed and offered and shared and received. That's powerful.
It is powerful.
And the basis of existence and future and past. And the stuff that, when I hear the stories and I try to engage with the stories and Kapuka, which company were you in? How was your OC? Any troubles with that? How was your corporal? And that RI and in the lines. And all of those stories inform the formation of that person. And everyone's different and yet have shared experiences and similarities, both by participating and not participating, both from inside self and outside self, and both in mates and non-mates. And so I find that so powerful and amazing and awesome, right? Where there's no real language to this, so we skirt around the issue, and yet when I finish a conversation, if I'm successful, if I'm successful and I'm let in, and there's a few nods and a few and the reward back is, Doc, you got it, you understood it. That is hugely powerful, and it lets us know about how the formation of self and others, and how we welcome our patients in, how we welcome them to leave again. All of that information of what is therapeutic starts to morph. And tribal for me is the living nature. Yeah, it's about people living in harmony with each other. And how do we do that? Shared values, understandings, words, behaviors, and that for me is really special. So thank you.
Thanks. And to add to that, I think we need to work with allied health professionals to get that level of informed attunement and the measure of informed attunement, so you can receive it without becoming awkward or think you're going to be charged with molestation or sexual inappropriateness, is when the person sitting opposite you, one calls you doc, not doctor, you know that you've reached the first milestone. The second one is brother or sister, you know you've reached the tribe. And the last one is I love you. And you need to know how to respond to that, which is love you too, man. And be comfortable with it. It's the systems that make us uncomfortable. And I said to my wife, we work on different kind of rules of communication. We just do. And if we can't be open to it and receive it with open hearts, we've lost somebody on the other side. Because when they say that, they are watching every move you make. So maybe a good message to get out there, right? Thank you. Thanks, guys. Okay, so as we draw close to the close, what we're going to look at now is the importance of tribe. And really it's about looking at the importance of tribe in your personal life journeys and what worked, what didn't work, why do you think it's got validity, can we live without tribe, whatever comes to you. Bearing in mind the 5-minute time limit. Kieran.
Tribe while I was in the military was conditional, which is fine. We have a capability we need to meet. I get it. But I did act to meet those needs. I had a group of guys outside the military I surf with who had nothing to do with the ADF. So after I got out, it was hard to explain, but we just surfed. It sort of almost like forces you to be present. You'll, to sound corny, unlike any other sport, the medium on which you're playing or dancing on is alive as well. Each wave is unique and beautiful, and it can sort of thrust you into being completely present. And if you're thinking, you fall off the wave. So it's a really lovely sport in that regard. The tribe part comes in where we would just sit there in silence and without talking, discussing, dissecting, rearranging my life, their life, anyone's life, it had its own way of being a therapy. I didn't have to say anything, but there was the comfort of having a friend next to me in the surf. And that for me is why it's so important. And it almost can't be explained or put into words without sounding corny, the spiritual essence of Mother Nature in that regard.
And I think, Kieran, that's the value of tribe, isn't it? And that because we enter a tribe and we belong, whether we talk or not is irrelevant because people hear us even within our silence. And I like the wave analogy, so thank you for that. Okay.
So I've always been a little bit of a super connector, but if I reflect back on military Kate as opposed to Kate now, completely different people. So a lot of people that do know me now won't believe that 15, 20 years ago, I was an incredibly passive aggressive person. And I would say that Kieran's comment on conditional meant this was an adaptive protective mechanism I made for myself to survive in that environment. So I was one of those females that would look at other females who were crying and say, what are you crying for? You're making us all look bad. I wasn't supportive at all. I was just in my masculine constantly. Go, 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 do, succeed. Made me very, very good at my job, but didn't make me a very nice person. It was actually one of my Waranoses that said to me, you're a very passive aggressive person. And I didn't know what that meant. So I went off and looked at it. And it was kind of a doorway for me to explore my own behaviors and patterns. And when I did that, I then found my tribe. So I had a lot of people around me when I was in the military, and a lot of people still know me. But I would say the tribe I have now, it is a completely different thing. And because I have explored my inner world and how I show up, I have this level of discernment now where people will walk into my workplace. I work at a recovery center, and I can tell straight away how they feel and what's going on for them. So I can talk to them at a level and connect with them deeper than I have ever been able to before. And that's how you find your tribe, is by knowing who you are and being able to see people where they're at.
So you've got to do your healing work to be able to open your heart to connect in this compassionate way. Okay. Thanks. That was cool. Beck, what comes up?
I guess similar to Kate, super connector, able to build relationships, can read people quite well. So I could, wouldn't say adjust myself, but just be able to understand where they're coming from. And humans are hardwired for connection. So we're supposed to connect and be in community and all of that, which, a lot of society has pushed us away from how really we should be living. But, you make that community and your tribe wherever you are. But then as you come sort of through in the military or first responder type space, it shifts. And, you find the like-minded people in that space where you are at that time, right? And then that may not serve you any longer, so it shifts again. But, it's through energy and connection, and where you resonate. So but again, it shrinks, it changes constantly. I went on a few retreats over the last couple of years to sort of figure out, and each time, the first 2 times, I'm like, I don't want to leave. Like, I found my people kind of thing. The last one I went on last year, I went, no, I'm all right. I'm ready to leave. I've still got these people in my life, but it's time to find some of those people where I live and build my community more. But I felt like, I felt home there those first couple of times, but then I went, no, but home is here. And then it's just building that around you and finding those, because they're there. Now I'm walking my dog and I'm meeting the most beautiful people in the street, just chatting to people in random places. It's what I do. People shake their heads, but it just, when you have that outlook, again, it's perspective and all that, it really shifts your world. So I'm just finding the most beautiful people around, and it's really lovely. And that's, I guess, the thing on tribe for me, but it is essential. And I guess one thing, it doesn't mean you have to be around people all the time. Like, you need your space, you need to recover and recuperate and rebuild your capacity. But that doesn't mean you're losing connection. I think, as they say, loneliness and lonely are 2 different things. So it's just finding where it works for you. And
I think what I really liked was the fact that we can't take tribe everywhere we go, but we know we belong. And in the moments we're not with tribe, if we hold who we are, we open to the many moments of other people coming in and connecting and forming these beautiful relationships. And so thank you for raising that. Leighton?
Life is better connected, right? And I think in the sort of personality archetypes, a lot of people, especially in defense, sit in the warrior type, and we automatically take responsibility for people's safety, the space. You don't have to ask us. I'm happy to be in the line of fire. And I've noticed I've only really been able to relax when I'm around other sort of warrior types that have the perimeter. I'm like, you know what? I don't need this sword. I don't have to swing. I can put that out. You know, I can take his body armor off on occasion. You know, I'm comfortable wearing it, but if I have to wear it all the time because I'm not in the tribe of guys that have got the 360 and I have to crack my, awareness around the place, that is so exhausting. And when you can't drop your guard for a second, everything starts doing those ones. Because if something bad happened because you've dropped your guard, it's going to be your fault. And so I found the tribe for me, I had to boil it down. It means I can relax and drop my guard. And all this wonderful stuff happens. The blood starts flowing where it's supposed to flow and you can heal yourself. But then I'm like, well, I think I know why I like breath work so much, because that gives me the permission to drop my guard for a second, to create that safe space, to know that all is well. And oddly enough, that permission you give yourself to occasionally put your body armor down allows you to be less of a cranky a-hole when you're connecting outside of you. And all of a sudden, the connections, the powerful connections inside of yourself create powerful connections outside of yourself as well. So it's funny how I was somewhat dependent on tribe, and that's cool, but I think I was depending on it to do something for me that I could otherwise do for myself, that I had to learn to do for myself first. And then all of a sudden, I'm a lot nicer to be in the tribe,
So it's interesting because then tribe is a critical component of our healing, but in the process of that healing, we also have to learn to refine and re-heal the parts of ourselves that no longer need to do the 360. And then the two integrate together. I like the way you put that together. Thank you. Thanks. Michelle?
Um, Thinking about it statistically in regards to scientifically backed evidence, the factor of community is around maintaining your resilience through knowing that you belong in a place where people want you there, that you see them, those people on a regular basis, and that you contribute to that society. That's the general community factor that's scientifically backed to help you to be able to remain resilient. But for me, on a personal level, sometimes I do feel lonely. I'm a little bit different I feel like that to the people around me. And so I tend to find my tribe. I sit there and I think, okay, I'm like everybody else because I know I'm a part of a psychology group of people. I went to this university, so I'm a university student. I live in this suburb, so therefore I belong to this suburb. I watch the news sometimes, try not to in other times, because it means I'm connected to Australia and I'm connected to Sydney. And that makes me feel like I have a tribe. The other thing that I get people to do is look back in their past and write all the things that make them a part of a tribe. They were a school student. They played this sport. They played this musical instrument. They went to, Sunday school, all that sort of stuff. And so you can always look back and go, yeah, I did belong and I did have tribes. So it's about looking now into what you've got around you to try and make that happen, as everybody has said. The other thing that had to happen. I wasn't able to drive for 4 years. And because of that, I ended up getting to know my community even more by catching the train and walking places. And I really enjoyed that because I didn't get to see that side of people outside of the car. And I also couldn't, because of the back injury, I can only do certain things now. And so I picked up new skills that I didn't do before. And I was really irritated for a long time on and off about that being taken away from me, the active things that I did. But then it gave me the opportunity to learn new things. And I'm thankful for that. What I say to people lastly is that particularly with you've only got the International Space Station has only got a certain amount of docking spots. If you fill them up with things in your life that don't work for you anymore, you're stopping the ability for another ship to be able to dock. And so sometimes it's worth kind of going, okay, that's not working for me. I need to leave so something else better can dock. Yeah.
I like that. And I like the fact that you reframe restriction as the possibility of even more freedom eventually.
Yeah.
And I like the way you put that. So thank you for sharing that. Andrew?
Thanks, Michelle. Well, hardwired for connection, Mel. I love that. Yeah.
I didn't make it up. I stole
I know, but I mean, if you take away air, then we'll die quite quickly. It's only minutes. If we take away water, we'll die. That's days. If we take away food, we'll die. That might be weeks or months, but we will die. And if you take away other human beings, we'll die too. It's that important. So yeah, tribe. As I think about myself, Barry, there's a number of tribes, of course, but the Navy one really is important for me. It was interesting that even after I left full-time Navy, I stayed in touch with a lot of my Navy friends. That was really important because it was just a part of who I was. And then returning to that through chaplaincy, really significant. But interestingly, the veteran community is an incredible tribe as well. And someone pointed out to me the other day that when you first leave, then your tribe is, just my unit or just my service. But over time, you see that change and that tribe becomes veterans, it becomes ADF, and there's that acceptance and that ability to suddenly just connect with someone from another service who's had a very, very different experience to mine, but we've got that in common. That's just so important, that tribe. And but we need other tribes too, and we've chatted about that already. But just making sure that we work at that and we maintain those other connections, those other tribes. One of the things we're really working hard to do in Veterans Chaplaincy, one of our real lines of effort is helping veterans to get connected in community, connected into new tribes.
Yeah, veterans are really good at creating antisocial social groups.
Yeah. But connecting you to new ones. Someone said to me the other day, Tim, there's only two things veterans really, really hate. It's change and the way things are. Yeah. But it's, we really want to try and get people connected, whether that's faith communities, whether that's surfing communities, whether that's dog walking communities. We've just got to get people connected with new tribes because that's just part of belonging, part of our identity as human beings, and without it, we'll die. So
We will. I didn't know I'd left tribe because I didn't know I had a tribe for about 50 years after the war. And only really discovered there was this thing called tribe. And in fact, there was this veteran community, which wasn't even in my consciousness. And at that point, more of myself began to emerge and it dribbled outward. And I think I began to refine parts of myself I'd forgotten even existed. And I realized how important tribe is. Even the veteran tribe, people said that they don't have a veteran tribe. That's cool. But there's something very special about the good few friends I have who are veterans, and we Rhodesians, and we just know each other. We know the beat of our hearts. They know how we're feeling across distance. So thanks. That was an extraordinary conversation because tribe is a very special thing. So thank you.